You are already inside an experiment. Every thought, every emotion, every subtle shift in your awareness is the result of chemistry unfolding inside your brain. Right now, even as you listen to these words, your neurons are firing, exchanging signals through tiny currents of electricity and molecules that carry meaning. You don't need a substance to change your mind. You only need to notice that it's changing all the time. And as you begin to realize this, you start to understand that consciousness itself is not a fixed point, but a flowing field, flexible, fragile, and endlessly dynamic. Humanity has always searched for ways to explore this field, from meditation to music, from fasting to prayer, and yes, through substances like MDMA, LSD, mushrooms, and cocaine. Each of them a different key, turning in the same mysterious lock of perception. What happens when we alter the brain's chemistry? We alter the self. And when we alter the self, we begin to glimpse what consciousness really is. Not a thing we possess, but a process we participate in. Your mind in this moment is alive with patterns of energy and meaning. And what we call a drug is simply a temporary reprogramming of those patterns. Let's begin with the basics. Your consciousness is a vast orchestra of neurotransmitters. Dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, oxytocin, each one a note, each interaction a melody. MDMA floods the synapses with serotonin and oxytocin, the molecules of connection and empathy. Under its influence, you feel as though barriers dissolve. Love becomes tangible, and you trust more deeply. It's not an illusion. It's your chemistry revealing what connection feels like when amplified. LSD binds to serotonin receptors, especially in regions of the brain that construct meaning. The default mode network, the part that filters reality into a sense of self, begins to quiet. Suddenly, colors breathe, time bends, and thought becomes visible. It's not that LSD shows you another world. It reveals the flexible nature of the one you already inhabit. Mushrooms, or Psilocybin, operate in a similar way. They quiet the ego, allowing consciousness to expand beyond its usual boundaries. Users often describe unity, oneness, and sacred insight. From a neurological perspective, it's the brain exploring itself without the constant interference of identity. Cocaine, on the other hand, magnifies dopamine, the reward molecule. It's sharp, fast, electric. It enhances desire, confidence, and energy. But in doing so, it narrows awareness to the pursuit of the next peak. It teaches us something profound about craving. That pleasure detached from presence becomes a trap. Each molecule changes how we experience reality, but none of them create consciousness. They simply rearrange what's already there. And as you imagine these neural pathways lighting up, you might begin to realize that every chemical is also a metaphor for focus. Because when you change focus, you change your state. When you change your state, you change. When you take LSD and see light ripple through sound, it's your brain revealing its creative process. When MDMA fills you with empathy, that's your mirror neurons turn to full volume. When mushrooms dissolve your identity, it's your brain exploring freedom from its own filters. The drug doesn't add something new. It removes what's been limiting you. So the question isn't just, what do these drugs do? It's what do they reveal about the way we normally construct reality? Cocaine shows us how desire feels when detached from satisfaction. LSD shows us that meaning itself is a neurological performance. Mushrooms show us that identity is only a temporary arrangement of thoughts. MDMA shows us that love is chemistry, and still sacred. When you begin to see these patterns, you begin to see consciousness as code, and the mind as the original programmer. The human mind craves control. We build beliefs, routines, and habits to anchor ourselves in the unknown. But every psychedelic, every stimulant, every altered state reminds us that control is fragile. LSD pulls you into the infinite, where boundaries vanish. Cocaine traps you in the now, chasing the edge of stimulation. Mushrooms blur the line between you and the world, showing that the border never really existed. MDMA makes you believe love will last forever, until the molecule fades and the silence returns. And in that silence you meet something deeper. Awareness itself, the observer that was there all along. Every chemical experience eventually fades, but what remains is the memory, the insight, the neural pattern etched into your perception. And this is where language comes in. Because NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, teaches us that we can alter our perception through language alone. Words, tone, rhythm, and metaphor become tools to reshape the inner landscape. A molecule can change your mind for hours. A sentence can change it for life. Both rely on the same mechanism, the reprogramming of neural patterns through focused attention. So what happens when we speak to the mind as though it were a molecule? When we use words as catalysts? You can say to yourself, expand, connect, release. Your brain listens. Neurons fire, chemicals shift, new pathways form. Language is chemistry, translated into sound. Focus is the catalyst. Awareness is the solvent. You can change your state with breath, with sound, with meaning. The brain doesn't distinguish between chemical input and linguistic input. Both are signals that rewrite perception. Every time you visualize, every time you reframe, every time you say, I am calm, I am whole, I am expanding, your neurochemistry adjusts. You are performing alchemy. You don't need LSD to dissolve your ego. You can do it by observing your thoughts until they blur. You don't need MDMA to feel love. You can activate empathy through memory and breath. You don't need cocaine to feel alive. You can summon energy through purpose and presence. You don't need mushrooms to see unity. You can experience it by noticing the space between each thought. When the chemical fades, what remains is the lesson. What you bring back from the altered state becomes part of your baseline consciousness. That's integration, the moment when insight becomes practice. You realize that consciousness is not something you expand once and return from. It's something you learn to stretch daily through awareness, language, and compassion. You are the chemist and the compound, the observer and the experiment, the drug and the antidote. And as you take a breath right now, noticing the rhythm of your heart and the sound of these words, you're already changing your state. Not through a pill or a powder or a plant, but through attention. Attention is the purest psychedelic. The more deeply you focus, the more reality bends to meet that focus. That is the essence of NLP. Perception follows direction. Change your language and your brain rewires its chemistry to match. You are not just listening to words, you're absorbing instructions that reshape experience. Consciousness doesn't end when the substance wears off. It continues, pulsing, adapting, learning, recalibrating. You are the ongoing trip. You are the chemical unfolding through time. And the moment you realize that you no longer need to escape your mind, you begin to design it. So take a deep breath. Notice this moment, the sound of the air, the rhythm of your thoughts, the quiet pulse beneath your awareness. You are already altering consciousness simply by paying attention. You are the scientist, the subject, and the mystery itself. Because in the end, every path, chemical or linguistic, leads back to the same realization. Consciousness is infinite, and you are its architect.
Click.